You're looking live at the New York Jets Auditorium, set to introduce the 22nd head coach in franchise history, Aaron Glenn, and their new general manager, Darren Mougey. And you're watching the Jets Overtime Special. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, and Quincy Anunua here in the Audi Performance Studio. And like I said, in about 4 minutes now, Aaron Glenn, Darren Mougey set to be introduced to the people in attendance here, everyone watching virtually as well. So if you're watching this stream, this will then kick over to the live press conference. And EA, obviously this is an exciting time for the Jets where you hire a new head coach, someone that played for the Jets, of course, and Aaron Glenn, and then being paired up with someone that has a loose connection, that he has a loose connection with, and Darren Mougey.
Well, it's a dawn of a new day for the New York Jets, and you're talking about Aaron Glenn, 52 years old, 25 years of experience in the National Football League, whether it be as a player, as a scout, as a coach. He's coming back home. First-round pick in 1994, the New York Jets. A scout in 2012 and 2013. And now he's the 22nd head coach in franchise history. And Mougey, here's a guy who worked with the Denver Broncos the past 12 seasons. He saw ownership changes, head coaching changes, and personnel changes. And along the way, he continued to get promoted. And I think for a lot of people, they were surprised that the Jets ended up here. But I can tell you this, from being around Jets brass, very excited about the direction of this organization.
Yeah, and with Darren Mougey, it's interesting because he's someone that, like I said, loose connection with Aaron Glenn, because Darren Mougey was a part of a Broncos team that was coached by Sean Payton, who Aaron Glenn played for and then coached with as a defensive backs coach. And Quincy, while we have you on set, something that I'm curious your perspective. If you're a current player who's unaware of who Aaron Glenn is, what are you hoping to hear from your new head coach in a couple minutes?
Yeah, I think ultimately you want to know that it's a change of a regime. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things going on during that last year that guys weren't really happy about. Obviously, the league's going on, all those different things. So you want your coach to be firm in his discipline and firm in what he has going on, and also to know that this isn't going to be a restart, because as a player, I don't want to restart. I want to continue going. I know what I'm capable of, and I want to feel like this coach is going to come in and take us to the promised land.
I think Aaron Glenn was born for this. And I think when people watch this news conference, Jets Nation is going to come away quite pumped because he embraces being here. Again, a first-round pick in 1994. He had 24 interceptions for the green and white. He was an elite player, a three-time Pro Bowler, a two-time Pro Bowler with the Jets, and he worked his way up from the bottom in terms of he volunteered to be a scout here with the Jets. Obviously, I talked to Ray Mickens about it the other day. He said, I check in with him, and he'd be on the road in Texas in a small town just putting on miles on the car. And then he starts out in Cleveland, works under Peyton in New Orleans. Finally, he is part of a Detroit team that turned a downtrodden franchise around, culminating in a #1 seed in the NFC this year, 15 wins.
And going back to what we were saying earlier, if you're watching this right now, it's 12:59. The press conference is scheduled for 1 o'clock. We're taking a look at the auditorium right now where Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey set to address the media, former teammates of Glenn, anyone in attendance. So, in the drop of a dime, we're going to cut over there in a minute. But beforehand, how could a guy like Aaron Glenn, drafted in 1994, 12th overall, a defensive back, have a connection to the other guy on set, drafted in 2013?
2000, yeah, 13, 14, yeah.
Last year as a scout with the Jets.
Yeah, so it's crazy. That's why I'm so happy about him being here. Is honestly, he was one of the main guys that helped me get drafted. When you talk to him, he would talk to my receiver coach. So it's awesome to see him here because he was one of the guys that I spoke to on the phone. So I think for me, I'm excited to see what he does, right? It's like a full circle for both of us to come back here to be with the team that drafted both of us, right? So I'm ready to talk to him. I'm ready to hear what he does. I know that he's the guy for the job, so, I'm ready to see what he does.
Something like that, EA, granted, I don't know Aaron Glenn personally, but you had some crossover with him too. Do you think that hearing what Quincy just said, it doesn't really come as a surprise that how diligent Glenn has been at every stop, considering what you said earlier, that he wanted to start from the bottom of the NFL coaching ranks, work his way up from a QC assistant coach to a defensive coordinator to now the head coach of the green and white?
AG is competitive as all hell. He is going to bring an element of accountability and discipline inside that locker room. I think he talked about leadership by saying, I can sum it up in one word: influence. He wants to have an influence on everybody inside that locker room, everybody inside this building.
I'm interested to see for Aaron Glenn, like, what is his coaching style? You take a look at who he's coached for in the NFL. Dan Campbell, obviously, with the Detroit Lions. Sean Payton with the Saints. And you think about who he was taught by as a player as well. Aaron Glenn, obviously, this is just the teams that he's coached for, but he's been coached by Pete Carroll for a year, Bill Parcells. All right, and without further ado, let's go inside the auditorium to hear from Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey.
Whoa, look at this group. Oh, it's great. Welcome. It's great to have all you, the vets, staff, media. My brother Chris was very helpful in this whole process. Team 33, Mike T., Mike Tannenbaum, Rick Spielman helped. Jaime, of course, and a lot of other people in the building helped in this long process. Selecting these guys, we got an early start. But we were very, very thorough and fair to everybody. We said the same. We had the 3-hour interviews, and each one of those interviews was the same. So we went through 15 candidates for each one of these gentlemen. And needless to say, when they came back for their second interview, it was pretty apparent to us who the leaders were, but we just wanted to verify it. I will say that the candidates we picked are all excellent coaches and general manager candidates. They really are. The fact that these guys emerged at the top, and it's a clear top, was really a credit to them and how they performed and their history and all the accomplishments that each one of them had in different ways. So I'm going to start with Darren. Darren he actually put on a pro uniform. It may have been for a day or two, but listen, it's more than 99.99% of the American population of football players that want to play this game. Anyway, when he realized he wasn't going to be a first-string quarterback, I think he might tell you the story. He went to coach a high school team as an assistant just to help for that year. Then he went to intern. He went to the Broncos and asked for a job, and obviously he was convinced that he got that job. And in 12 years, he worked his way up to assistant general manager, and he was involved in all phases of the general manager job, which is absolutely an enormous undertaking for any one individual. It's a really, really big. Now you have to pick players, and you have to manage that process, which is very, very complicated. We asked him all these questions for I don't know how many hours, at least 3 hours, plus a second one, maybe another 3 hours. And he really had we were so impressed by his organization and his ability to pick out players, both college and pros, and that's really the heart of the matter. That's really what you have to be good at. And the second thing that we really admired about Darren was his understanding of the relationship between the general manager and the head coach. It's the most important thing because the general manager has to understand what kind of player they're looking for. The general manager has to do a job of trying to find that player. He has to manage all those scouts we have and how do you harvest all those good ideas, challenge your scouts to give you better info, and then make the decision for the best interest of the team and the best interest of the head coach as well and what he's looking for. Now, Aaron Glenn, I just remember him as a player. He I think he was drafted first round by the Hess family. I met the Hess family a couple days ago. We were down in Washington, D.C., and I asked them about Aaron. They said, oh, yeah, we lucked out on that one. He's a first-round pick. And, the interesting thing about first-round picks, Who knows whether they're going to be good? You really don't know. But he is a first-round pick all the way through his career up till today. Really is. Everything he's done is exemplary. And, you know, if I were writing a how-to manual on how to be a head coach in the National Football League, I would take his career and his curiosity and his dogged determination from a player to a scout for the Jets to other team. He was at another team, and then taking a shot at a team that hadn't won in how many decades? The media will know, but a number of decades, probably 3 or 4 or 5 decades, and taking that team with the head coach and the offensive coordinator and turning it into something that was really exciting to watch. So I think today we're blessed to have these two gentlemen here among us, as we are to have all of you here too. So this is a very happy day for the New York Jets, and you'll be hearing from these guys soon. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words, Mr. Johnson. And good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I also want to start out by thanking Mr. Johnson, Christopher Johnson, the search committee, Jaime, Mike Tannenbaum, Rick Spielman. I thought it was a great process, and I really enjoyed my time getting to know you guys throughout that time. It is one of the greatest honors and privileges of my life to be named General Manager of the New York Jets. This is a proud franchise with great tradition and incredibly passionate fans located in one of the most iconic cities in the world. I could not be more excited to take on this responsibility with AG as we work to build a championship team that will make the Jets fans proud. And there is not a better leader for this team than AG. And I want to tell a story. I got the opportunity a few years ago. We were going through a head coaching search in Denver with the Broncos, and we interviewed AG. And at the end of the interview, I'd ask the candidates, I'd say, so when we get in that first team meeting, what's that message going to be? What's it going to sound like? What's it going to look like? And most of the candidates would kind of just talk about their philosophies or something. And AG said, you want me to do it? And I said, well, if you're comfortable, let's see it. Let's do it. So he pushed back. He sat up, and he delivered a powerful message. Like when he finished, we're all kind of looking around like, wow. And as we went on through the search, because he was one of the first guys we interviewed in that search, we kept going back to it like, damn, AG killed that thing. Like, that was pretty good. We hadn't seen that. Fast forward a few years later, Thursday, I'm sitting in his office and we're talking, and instantly I'm feeling that again, that passion, the passion for the game, the passion and the care for the players, the fans, his football acumen. It was instant. And we got to talking about this Jets team and the vision and the franchise, and we were in lockstep right out the gate. Same vision. We were speaking the same language. So I can't wait to work this partnership and bring a Super Bowl back to the New York Jets. Every successful team has alignment with its leaderships, and it starts at the top with ownership. It includes the head coach and the GM and the president to build a world-class organization. And we have that here with the Jets, and you guys will see it. Getting to know Mr. Johnson and Christopher throughout this process, it's clear that the Jets ownership is fiercely competitive, cares deeply about the players and the fans, and is committed to winning. I felt that in the interview process each time we met. Jaime, I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm going to lean on you a lot like I have today. And I look forward to working with you to engage our staff, the great Jets alum, some are here today, the community, our partners, and our great fans. As the GM of the Jets, I will lead our personnel staff as we acquire, develop, and work to retain players that fit our team and culture, and we will do this in complete partnership with the coaches. Our philosophy will be to draft, develop, keep our own, and be disciplined and strategic in free agency. There is no more important part of any sports organization than the players, period. It's about the players. And we have a good foundation of players here right now that we're going to continue to add to, and we're going to give those players everything they need to be successful and reach their potential. There will be accountability across each department and a high standard as we look to win not only now, but from now on. And lastly, I want to thank and recognize a few people who supported me along the way. And that starts with my wife, Hannah, and our 2 kids, Emmett and Marlo, who I know are at home watching. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today because the flu hit us 2 days ago, right as we were about to take off for New York. But I know they're at home watching. And without their sacrifices and support, I wouldn't be here today. I love you guys. I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I also, of course, have to thank my mom, Linda. I lost my dad at an early age, and my mom stepped up and supported me throughout all my ups and downs. To my mom, my siblings, and my dad looking down on us, I love you all. And of course, I want to thank the Denver Broncos, who took a chance on me as a scouting intern about 13 years ago. I learned a lot during my time in Denver, working with George Payton, John Elway, and supporting a lot of great football coaches, some of the best in the business. The Broncos are in great hands with owners Greg Penner, Kerry Walton Penner, Rob Walton, and I wish them the very best, except for when we play them this year, of course. And finally, to the Jets fans, you have my word that AG and I are going to pour our heart and souls into this job and do everything we can to get a Super Bowl back to this team. Thank you.
I wear glasses now. Before I actually get started into my thank yous, I want to say that I got to thank God. I would not be standing here if it weren't for him, so I want to make sure I acknowledge that. My biggest influence in my life were my parents. My dad passed years ago, and when it comes to work ethic, that's where I got it from. I'm talking about 4 in the morning until the job is done. And that's what you're going to see from me. My mother, nurturing, sacrifice, raising 11 kids. 2 of them played for this franchise, my brother Jason. Learned so much from her, and also how to lay the law down also. My mom was good at that, so I want to thank them. My backbone, my wife of 28 years, Devaney Glenn. I could not be in this position without you. My rib, you're special. You're special. My 3 kids, my son, Aaron II, my daughter Tristan, my daughter Reagan. They should be coaching because they know this game just as well as I do. And they're the best kids that you can have. And listen, we're in this battle together like we always been. We are a football family. We love it, we sleep it, we breathe it, and that won't change. There's nothing better than that. To have a family that understands exactly how you operate and what you do. I love it. Woody and Christopher, your commitment to winning is clear. And I look forward to the conversations to continue to live that. Thank you, guys. Jaime, our partnership is going to be something special. And we're going to make decisions that's best for this organization. There are a number of football people that helped me get to this spot. First off, my agent, Jimmy Sexton. My advisor, my friend, Amy. Where you at, Amy? Man, came to this league in '94, been together ever since. And nothing's going to break that bond. I appreciate you. Darren Wade, my high school coach. He took me on my first visit to visit a college. He's like my second dad. I love him to death. Bill Parcells, who I think is the best coach to ever coach this game. He's taught me a ton, and just to be in his presence was something special for me. Al Groh, another coach that's been the coach of this team. I go and visit Al Groh every offseason and continue to get knowledge. And I'll tell you what, for him to allow me to be in the house with him and his family, to continue to just watch tape after tape after tape and continue to study this game has been special to me. Al, I appreciate you. Sean Payton. Here's the one thing I will tell you I got from Sean. So I go to the New Orleans Saints, and we were a solid team. But then we start winning year after year after year. Sean taught me what sustained winning is all about. Sustained winning. Dan Campbell, outstanding man. Going to Detroit with Dan, we were at the very bottom. Woody, you said it. But you know what we did? We took it up to the top. So here's the one thing in my last 9 years I was able to do, is be able to take a team from the top and reach the pinnacle, and then also be able to sustain that. And that's what we're going to bring here to this team. My man, Darren. Bro, we're in this thing together. Again, we met years ago. I had a feeling. And to now, see that it comes to this. It's outstanding. We're going to do some magical things here, bro. Some magical things, and I look forward to it. To the former players, my guys, listen, I would not be here without you men. The expectations hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. The blood, sweat, and tears that we shared on that field has been valuable to my success. I love you guys. To any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit. Listen, I want this job. I interviewed for a number of them, but I wanted this job. When I was going to my second interview, I wanted to make sure this is going to be the second interview. It's going to be the first of the second interviews, because I didn't want to leave the building without shaking Woody's hand and make sure we had a contract. So I'm just telling you now, everything else was really out of it. It was all about the Jets, and it's been that way from the beginning. The organization, we've already talked. I respect every little thing that you do, because this is bigger than me. It's going to take us all. It's going to take us all to accumulate wins, and I look forward to working with you. Just a couple of things I want to nip in the bud before we get to the Q&A. Listen, I came on Wednesday. Well, I got the job on Wednesday. Mougey came and got the job on Saturday. And we came here on Sunday, and we started talking. Here's what I do know. Aaron Rodgers will be talked about. It will be talked about. We've already texted that communication with Aaron Rodgers. And as we continue to look at the roster, we'll make decisions accordingly. And that's with a number of people, right, on the team. I look forward to this. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great ride. It really is. There's nothing better than having your start here as a player, here as a scout, and now here as a head coach. And I'm ready for it. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll take some questions from the media and the audience. If you raise your hand, there'll be a mic that will come around, and we could begin the Q&A here with the two gentlemen up here. Right over here, guys. Yeah.
Question for Aaron. Since you brought it up a moment ago, with Aaron Rodgers, what is going to be your process as a coach to determine if he's going to be your quarterback next year?
Well, me and Mougey is going to sit and talk and just go over the whole roster. And I will tell you now, that's going to be the answer to a number of questions when it comes to the roster in general. So we're looking forward to that process. I can't tell you how long that process will be. But the thing is, we're going to make sure we get the right answer. And we're not going to rush to this answer, because we're going to get the right answer.
Aaron Connor Hughes, SNY, you made it pretty clear you wanted to be here. So what about this organization specifically drew you here more than anything else?
First off, and I said it before, this is where I started. And you can't write a better story than that, because this is my start for a number of situations. Again, as a player, as a scout, and now as a head coach. And you can't write that story no better than that. So hopefully this will be my last stop. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Right over here.
Aaron, Darren, congratulations to you both. Aaron, I want to start with you. My name is Crystal Rich, WCBS. I want to take you on a little trip down memory lane. You spoke about your time here as a player. Your third season, you guys had that one-win season, but quickly turned things around, 9-7 in '97, and then went to 12-4 and had a playoff win. What is it about that time? What did you learn in that time about culture building and changing a culture that you spoke about? To give you the exact words, you said sustained winning. What have you learned about that, and have you used that in your coaching career?
If I go back to my first 2 years, I think we were 2-14 and 1-15 the following year. Bill Parcells comes in, and he just totally brought a different mentality and different people. And to me, that's what really changed the culture. And here's what I learned. I can stand in front of a group of men, and I can give as many rah-rah speeches as I can. But culture is about people and getting the right people in the building. And I saw that firsthand with what Bill Parcells did. And that's why the turnaround was so fast. Again, we went 9-7 the next year. We went to the playoffs and we lost. And I would say this. Let me go. Here's another thing, and you men would know this here. Another reason why. In '98, we played the Denver Broncos. We're out there and we are winning 10-0 in the first half. We come back in the second half. They kick the ball off. Wayne, you remember this. It was windy. The ball stops in midair, and they recover it. And they scored 2 touchdowns. I'll be damned if I'm not going to come back here and get that back. And that's one of the reasons why.
Brian.
Aaron, Brian Costello, New York Post. A lot of times people talk about coaches holding players accountable. What's your philosophy in terms of being hard on players versus, loving them up and being a quote-unquote players coach?
To me, there's no such thing as accountability without responsibility. So it's my job to make sure that I let them know, what is your responsibility? And once they understand that, and then they know they have to be accountable for that. So it's not like I'm the one that have to tell them that you're wrong. They know it. So we set that standard up front. And players want that. They've been like that ever since college. They've been structured. So it's my job to make sure I set that structure. And after I said it, I hold them accountable for that. And they understand it.
Over here, Bruce Beck.
Aaron, Bruce Beck, NBC4 New York, congratulations. You talked about sustained success. I think the fans just want success, any kind of success. How do you get there?
It's sustained success. And that's what we're looking for, because I've lived it. And it's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take us as coaches to make sure we teach and continue to teach. The small things about this game is what really wins games. The smartest teams win games. Situational awareness win games. It's our job as coaches to make sure we do that, because that's the difference between winning and losing is the small things that we got to get ready to teach. So that's the sustained success that we'll have.
Antoine.
Hey, Antoine Staley, New York Daily News. I just want to go back to your journey as a scout in 2012, and just, how did that help you land this position today? And just also, did you imagine that you would be in this position now, years from there?
Well, I'll tell you a story exactly how that happened. So 2008, I retired. I take 2 years off to try to be the best dad I can be, taking kids to school and spending time with my wife. And I can recall looking at ESPN, and I forgot who was playing, but I am cursing the TV out. And my wife tells me, baby, go coach. Go coach. It was like a weight off my shoulders, because that's my passion. And it's okay to want to be a coach. Back then, I felt like I wanted to be a businessman, but I'm a football guy. And once she told me that, I got right in coach. I called Bill Parcells and told him I want to coach. He said, no, you're not going to coach. You're going to scout. I said, I don't want to scout. He said, well, that's what you're going to do, because I think you have a chance to be a head coach. And the best head coaches are really the guys that are best evaluators. So I took his advice, probably the best advice I've had since coming back in this league. So understanding how to do it from an in-house perspective, and then actually going on the road to be a college scout, to be able to evaluate every position. It helped me tremendously to be in this position.
Last one right here, Zach.
Hey, Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. For Darren, actually. I was wondering what are some of the key tenets that you look for, and when you're building out a team, the kind of team you want to build, the players you're looking for, what are kind of the things you're looking for?
It's very important. And AG and the staff and I are going to actually start those conversations tonight, because I think that is a collective, collaborative approach on what we are going to look for in each player, from makeup to physical traits. And we're working that process right now.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Mougey, you got off a little easy today.
I did. Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
We're going to break down, do some photos, and then we'll do group interviews. Print will be down here, and we'll do the TVs up top. Thanks, everybody, for coming today.
All right, that was Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey's introductory press conference. Those two guys are going to take some photos, get acquainted with the New York media. We saw a brief portion of it at the end of that with the Q&A. And look, if you're wondering what the synergy is like between Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey, I think that was a big question coming into today, because on the surface, didn't seem like they had a whole lot of overlap. The story that Darren Mougey told, where the Broncos were looking for a head coach. They interviewed AG, and AG blew them away at that time. And then 2 years later, to be working together, there is a synergy there, and they're definitely in lockstep, as he put it. And I think that's definitely a great step for the New York Jets.
Aaron Glenn looked at Mougey during the news conference and said, bro, we're in this thing together. I had a feeling we're going to do some magical things here, bro. It's all about alignment, and that's something that Mougey said as well. And you can tell these guys not only hit it off in Denver years ago when Aaron Glenn interviewed for that opportunity to be the head coach there, but they have certain characteristics that they're looking for from players, and also they want the organization to have sustained success. And that's one thing that Glenn emphasized when somebody countered and said, Bruce Beck, in fact, asked, hey, what about having success here? The Jets have not been in the postseason in 14 years. And AG corrected him right off the bat, and he said, no. It's all about sustained success.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the chemistry they had, right? They're already calling each other by nicknames, Mougey, AG, right? But also the passion that was involved in it. I mean, he cursed a little bit, right? We got to see who he is as a coach, just a little taste of it. And I think that's going to be, as a player, I mean, even as a former player, I'm feeling the passion, right? I'm ready to go out there and play for him. So I know as a player, you're excited to see what's that going to end up being on the field. How's that going to be? How are you going to coach me? I got a little bit of a taste of it, and I think you understand that that's going to be a guy that's going to be disciplined, is going to make sure that you're on your P's and Q's, but also a guy that's going to have some fun with you, right? He still has a little bit of flavor to him. He has a little bit of fun to him. So I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah, put your seatbelts on. That was his message to the players today. We are built for this.
Yeah, built for this bleep.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what Quincy was referring to. And, even, take you behind the curtain a little bit. We're watching this. Quincy's like, okay. like you said, you're excited at the direction of the New York Jets. And if you're watching it and you're wondering, what are the next steps for both of these guys in the immediacy, they said that starting tonight, they're going to go over what are traits from players, what are makeup of players that they want in their roster as they comb over it. And obviously the big question here is with number 8 and Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Glenn took the podium and he said, let me nip this in the bud right away. We're evaluating the entire roster. Aaron Rodgers will be talked about. In fact, they've already contacted him.
Yeah, and again, context is here because Aaron Glenn was named 22nd head coach in franchise history on Wednesday. Mougey was hired Saturday evening. So these guys are in the infancy of a new era here, and that's the number one questions for the New York Jets moving forward for this leadership team is who is going to be your quarterback next year and what is the plan for the franchise at the most important position in all sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what everybody's question mark is about, right? Like, who is going to be out there? I'm glad he kind of spoke to it because I know everybody wants to know, is Aaron Rodgers going to be at the helm? So it's a great job for him to at least bring it up and let everybody know that he's thinking about that. He understands Aaron Rodgers is a big part of this team, a big part of the past team. And will he be a part of this future? He still has to figure it out, but he still has it on his mind, so everybody knows that.
Yeah, and another guy that we just saw him throw a pass to, Devontae Adams, in a similar boat. There are questions about him, but the Jets have talent, and, Darren Mougey was talking about it when he was introduced, that there couldn't be a better leader than Aaron Glenn for this New York Jets team. And what Mougey said is that he's not only looking to win now, but from now on. So he's saying that. Glenn is talking about taking a team, or he's been a part of two teams. The Saints that he took from Sean Payton took from a very good team to a great team with sustained success, which is what Aaron Glenn wants to achieve. And then also taking a team from the bottom of the league in the Detroit Lions to the #1 seed in the NFL.
Well, remember, and Aaron emphasized that today, that he played under the best program builder in the history of this in the history of the National Football League, in Bill Parcells, and what an influence he's had on him. And then he gets to New Orleans and has a run under Sean Payton where he saw what sustained success looked like. Then he gets to Detroit under Dan Campbell. The Lions in that first year were 3-13-1. I think that second year they started out 1-6, but they stayed patient with the process, and that thing turned around. And this year we saw them advance all the way to the #1 seed in the NFC, and Aaron Glenn never made any excuses despite playing with the MASH unit out there on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, this list is crazy, by the way. You take a look at Bill Parcells is the guy that's the biggest mentor, I would say, according to Aaron Glenn for his career. But the names alone on this, and Super Bowl championships like Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, you talk about Todd Bowles being a position coach here with the Jets and also the Cowboys. Let's actually go inside the auditorium to check in with Caroline Hendershot.
All right, Ethan, I'm here with Chairman Ambassador Woody Johnson. Now, Ambassador, what do you think of today and the hirings that you obviously did with not only Aaron Glenn, but also Darren Mougey?
I couldn't be happier. I mean, everybody's got to see it themselves today. I've seen this for months now. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And both of them, I think, and the symphony between them is going to be transformational for the Jets.
Now, you guys interviewed an extensive list of candidates, both head coaches and GMs. What about these two stood out to you in the interview process?
All the things, we were very organized the way we did this. And we gave the same, as I said, we gave the same interview to all 15 candidates on both sides. I think you just, after you've been through all of the checks and the balances and all that, they just emerged as the best. And that often happens in these type of processes when you're trying to pick someone, whether it's a college president or a head football coach. And it just kept accelerating towards the top. And so it became really easy.
Darren Mougey had 12 years of experience with the Denver Broncos. What do you think he can take from those experiences and transfer to the New York Jets?
I think he's seen it all. I mean, he's seen various coaches. He's a very good talent evaluator. We checked it out. We did reference checks, like 30, 40 on each one, each person we interviewed. So we know a lot about him. And really, that's the key factor, is picking players, picking both college and pros, and also how do you relate to the coach? How do you give the coach what he's looking for in terms of talent and all the specifications, but also the character? Who do you want in your locker room? Mm-hmm. And that's really a big one for us.
And it's also a big one with head coach Aaron Glenn. He not only played for this team, he scouted for this team, now he's the head coach. How excited are you about him and the future that he has with this organization?
It's hard to exaggerate my excitement. I think he's authentic, number one. So the players are going to know what he tells them is coming from him. It's not somebody else, some other coach or anything else. He's the real deal. And he knows what the players have to go through, what it's like playing in various conditions and all that. He knows that personally. And he knows the sacrifice you have to make to be a coach, to be a player or a coach. I mean, the same deal with coaches. It's a rough life. They're away from their families and all that. But they love it. And if you don't love it, this is not right for you. And he loves it.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ethan, back to you.
Caroline and Ambassador Johnson. And for everyone who tuned in to today's press conference, be sure to stay up to date with the Jets all season long with breaking news, alerts, and the latest team information sent straight to your phone. Text JETS to 26154 to subscribe today. Terms and conditions may apply. And speaking of the 22nd head coach in franchise history, let's go back out to the auditorium to hear from Caroline and Mr. Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, just right here with me. Here with New York's 22nd head coach in franchise history, Aaron Glenn. Coach, first of all, congratulations on such a momentous day, not only for you, but also your family. Now, I don't know if you can really put into words what this means for you, but from playing here as a first with this team, first team you scouted for, and now the first team that you will be a head coach for, as you reflect on that journey, what does this mean to you?
Listen, this is the greatest story you could ever write. When it comes to my life. And you already said it, 94 being drafted here, 12th pick in the first round, coming back, I think in 2012 to be a scout, being in-house scout for 2 years. They ended up going on the road for 2 years as a college scout, and now coming back as the head coach. It's not a better feeling in the world, and you can't write a better story.
Other than your history with the organization, you expressed that you wanted to be here. Why was that? What about this team really called you home?
Listen, I know a lot of people that's here in the building, and I know what they stand for. And I felt like it was my job to come in and try to accumulate as many wins as we can and try to build a championship team. Listen, I know Woody. I know what he's about. And our conversations have been outstanding. And he is committed to winning. And we'll continue to have those conversations. And now, matching me with Mougey, I think we have a championship caliber team that's going to be able to give us a championship.
Darren Mougey, you referenced him. He referenced you, too, in that Denver Broncos head coach interview. What about this partnership is going to help the Jets get to that next step?
We see things exactly the same. And we have a shared vision on how we're going to do it. And listen, we're not going to grill on everything, and that's okay. But the one thing that we have is respect for each other, and no matter what, when we make a decision, it's going to be both our decision. If we disagree, we can come out of the room, and it's going to be one decision being made. And that's the relationship that we have.
What should players and fans know about your leadership style and your expectations for this team as they kind of look ahead to this offseason?
Well, listen, to me, my definition of leadership really comes down to one word. That's influence. And I plan on influencing every man that's a part of this football team and everybody in this building, really. I think it starts with my character. And that's something that I don't take lightly, is my character. And also work ethic. I mean, you put those two things together, I think when people see that, it's hard not to follow. The expectations are to win, hands down. That's what we're here for, win a winning business. And I plan on bringing it to this team.
Now, last one for you. You've played with some legendary coaches. You've played under some legendary coaches. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you have learned from one of those coaches along the way that you're going to take with you into your new role as a head coach?
Just be authentic. Just be myself. Listen, players know a fake when they see one. And when you're fake to a player, you basically lost them. So they know I'm going to be myself, wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm going to tell them what it is, and we're going to go from there.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Coach. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Ethan, back to you.
That was Caroline Hendershot and Aaron Glenn. You're watching Jets Overtime Special. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Bob Wischusen in the house. Shoes, nice to see you.
Glad to be here.
So, I'm curious from your perspective. You've been to a number of head coaching press conferences, general manager press conferences. What gives you the confidence that these are the right two guys for the Jets right now?
Well, I mean, I think certainly with Aaron, there's an authenticity there that you really can sense. Talking to people that were parts of the interview process. You know, the story he told about the 98 championship game, about, I'll be damned if I'm not going to make up for that. Like, that was a story he told in the interview process when there were no lights, there were no cameras, no one was in there but the handful of people that were listening to him and what he believed was his investment in this job. So when you hear a guy that genuinely seems to get the message across that this place matters to him, that his legacy here and his history here and knows what this is all about. And, you know, I think that the phrase he used with the powers that be was unfinished business. He's got unfinished business with the Jets. And that's different than, you know, probably anybody else that might have even been on their list, because how many other guys were on their list that had a history with the organization where you could tell it really registers with them?
What do you think about the pairing of AG with Mougey now?
You know, I don't know as much about our new general manager as I do about new coach. You know, my first time with the Jets, covering them on a regular basis, was 1996. And Aaron was in his third year at that point. So, you know, the beginning of my kind of Jets tenure almost mirrored his career and then all the way through. But all you can probably go on with someone who you don't know him personally is the training ground. And for a prospective general manager, what better training ground than with someone who's been to and won at, you know, the Super Bowl level before? You know, he is coming from that lineage. So, and they definitely seemed of one mind.
Yeah.
They definitely seem to have, you know, a philosophy that mirrors one another with how they want to build the team.
Well, speaking of Mougey, actually, Caroline Hendershot is standing by with the new GM right now.
Here with Darren Mougey. Now, Darren, congratulations on becoming the New York Jets general manager. What about this was the right job for you?
I'd start with, I think it's a great opportunity. I talked about the talent that's on this roster right now, and then AG is the head coach. You guys saw that and felt that passion. He can lead people. I felt really good about that, along with Mr. Johnson and Christopher at the ownership level. We had a great connection. I felt their passion. I felt their desire and commitment to win. And there was a lot of reasons. It's a great opportunity.
You spent over 12 years with the Denver Broncos. Now, what of those experiences can you take and kind of bring with you to the New York Jets?
Oh, my gosh. So many, to be honest with you. I've been around a lot of great people there, a lot of great mentors. I've seen a lot, too. I've been through a lot of transitions. So there's not just one that I'll bring, but many.
Was there any part of you that during this process you knew AG was the head coach and that kind of made you want to come here even more because of your history with him?
I knew he was a candidate, and I was excited about that. And when they announced it, I was excited about that because I've always been a believer in AG since that day I met him at that interview. So it definitely had a huge effect.
You talked about the makeup being a very important thing as you look at this team going forward. What are some of the characteristics you look for as you're making up a team?
Yeah, we talk about it, and I want to talk details with the group here as we kind of create our own vision and language. But when we talk about the makeup, we're talking about the mental, the football character, the toughness, the grit, the attitude, all those things. But we'll have it defined as we collectively go through the process and talk about it as a group.
And last one for you. I know that Jets fans and even the players themselves are going to be excited to see your plan unfold for where this team goes as the offseason approaches. But what are your expectations for this team in the 2025 season?
I don't have any set expectations on wins or losses. I just know we're going to win and improve.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ethan, back to you.
That was Caroline Hendershot and new Jets general manager Darren Mougey. And it is an exciting time here at One Jets Drive. We're already counting down the days until we're back at MetLife Stadium. There's never been a better time to lock in your 2025 Jets season tickets to make sure you are all part of the action and energy of Jets game days. Visit nyjets.com/season tickets or call 1-800-469-5387 to secure your seats today. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Nick Mangold in the house. So we had Quincy and Nuno, we had Bob Wischusen. Now you're closing.
Closing?
Yeah, you're the closer.
Oh, closer?
We had the starter, we had the middle reliever, and the closer.
I didn't get any music to come
But I don't know if the new Jets general manager is going to like the qualities you bring to the table, because he's talking about toughness and you're complaining about a hang now.
It hurts a little bit.
So you were actually inside the auditorium during this news conference. What were your major takeaways?
I think it was my first one with all the different coaches that we've had. Yeah, I think it was my first coaching press conference, which is interesting. To me, it was exciting to see a GM and a coach come together. And for me, the passion of Aaron Glenn is immediate. Like, as soon as he opens his mouth, you feel it. And I felt that when he was a scout here way back when I was still playing. So I'm excited that he's one of our own, and he's coming back and being a part of this. And hopefully they build together not only the team for this year, but team, moving forward, which, Aaron talked a lot about sustained success, and that's a big key.
When Aaron Glenn was here as a scout, he had talked about it that Bill Parcells was the guy who said maybe you should go back to scouting in order to become a head coach down the road. From your perspective, Nick, to be able to evaluate players as a head coach, where that's more of the general manager's, on paper roles, just what is that benefit for him now that he has that background?
No, I understand it completely because, as my esteemed coaching career of 1 year of offensive line at high school level, I focus on the offensive line. All I see is the offensive line. I have no idea what the DBs are doing. I have no idea what the linebackers are doing. And so that's out of my realm. So the idea that Bill told him to go be a scout so you get a good feel, as a head coach, you have to manage the whole team. You can't just be like, all right, I know D-line, and that's what I'm going to focus on, and those are my people. You have to be able to do both sides and do everybody. So to be able to not only scout and evaluate each guy, but also just understand the personalities and understand everything that goes in with each position. So I think that sounds like sage advice from the wise Bill Parcells.
Yes. How well does it go over in the locker room that Aaron Glenn is a guy who was a first-round pick in 1994, and he played 15 seasons in the National Football League, 24 interceptions here with the Jets, 41 interceptions overall. So you're talking about an elite player, one of the best players who've ever played for this franchise. Then he went and scouted here. And then we've been talking about his resume throughout the day. More than 25 years of experience, not just as a player, but into the scouting side, and now finally coaching as he's continued to elevate with each passing year.
No, it's great. And I think the biggest thing for me when I heard, Aaron Glenn, he's going to be our coach and, playing and knowing who the player was and everything, he gets the New York Jets. He was on Long Island in the same locker room I was in at Hofstra. He knows where this franchise was, where it was going, where it's going now, and seeing that transformation. So he understands the fans, he understands Long Island, he understands the city, and I think that's a big bonus for a coach coming in to be able to really know what a franchise is all about.
You know what's very impressive, and we kind of just showed it with the quote graphic with all the different support from former players, current players, media analysts, including someone that you played with, Damian Woody. These guys are very supportive of Aaron Glenn and the hiring. What does it say to you, one, to be in the auditorium and see so many of his former teammates years later being in here for his opening press conference, and also seeing the players somewhat, or some of them, starting to buy in from an early part of his career?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think that just shows the relationships that he's built and the way that he carried himself in the locker room and amongst his peers. And so, when you have that support coming still all these years later, shows you're something special.
All right, so before we wrap up here, EA, do you have any final thoughts? Because we're going to close with a message from Aaron Glenn to his players.
Well, energy and alignment, those are the two things that I took out of today, is that Aaron Glenn is coming here, and he is ready to roll. He's embracing this opportunity. He wanted to be here, and he is ready for it. Also, Mougey, how about the contrast? You're talking about Aaron Glenn's 52, Mougey, 39 years old. Aaron Glenn's had various stops. He's been in Denver for the past 12 seasons, and then Mougey, 6'6", Aaron Glenn, 5'9". But with all that being said, all those differences, you had alignment and vision. They said they're going to do this thing together, and they have to.
Yeah, and they're in lockstep. And Aaron Glenn said that he met Darren Mougey years ago, and at that time he said, I had a feeling, as I think alluding to the fact that either they could be working together down the road, or that Mougey would eventually get his name called as general manager, and that he did. Darren Mougey, the new GM of the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn, the 22nd head coach in franchise history for the Green and White. And we're going to close with this. If you missed the press conference and you're just tuning in now, this is the message that Aaron Glenn had for his players.
To any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges. But with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this. Listen, I want this job. I interviewed for a number of them. but I wanted this job. When I was going to my second interview, I wanted to make sure this is going to be the second interview. It's going to be the first of the second interviews, because I didn't want to leave the building without shaking Woody's hand and make sure we had a contract. So I'm just telling you now, everything else was really out of it. It was all about the Jets, and it's been that way from the beginning. The organization, we've already talked. I respect every little thing that you do, because this is bigger than me. It's going to take us all. It's going to take us all to accumulate wins. And I look forward to working with you.
Thanks for watching Jets Overtime Special, the press conference of Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. Make sure to stay tuned to NewYorkJets.com throughout the offseason as we bring you the top-notch content.